By the end of A Feast for Crows, King's Landing is not stable. It only looks stable from a distance. Cersei has armed the faith. The Tyrell alliance is strained. The treasury is weakened. The small council is fractured. When Kevan Lannister accepts the regency for Tommen, he does not inherit peace. He inherits damage control. The real question is not whether Kevan was competent. The text makes that clear. The question is whether competence alone was enough to save what had already been destabilised. Hello everyone, and welcome to Storyteller's Codex. Here we delve deep into the rich lore of the Lord of the Rings, a song of ice and fire, and the vast worlds beyond. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. To understand Kevan's regency, we have to start with the mess he walks into. Under Cersei's rule in A Feast for Crows, decision after decision weakens the crown. She dismisses experienced advisors, she elevates flatterers, she arms the faith militant in exchange for debt forgiveness. She alienates the Tyrells by undermining Margaery. Her internal monologue shows how she frames these moves. She believes she is consolidating control. When she restores the faith militant, she convinces herself it is a masterstroke. But the consequences are immediate. The faith gains armed authority inside King's Landing. The High Sparrow does not behave like a controllable cleric. He investigates. He arrests. Even Cersei is eventually imprisoned. By the time Kevan returns to court in A Dance with Dragons, the Crown's authority is visibly eroded. The faith has leverage. The Tyrells are suspicious. The treasury is strained. Kevan recognises this quickly. He does not treat the situation as manageable rhetoric. He sees structural instability. The realm is not collapsing dramatically. It is fraying quietly. Kevan does not rush toward power. In earlier books, he serves Tywin loyally but does not assert himself independently. After Tywin's death, Kevan withdraws temporarily rather than compete with Cersei. When he finally accepts the regency, it is not ambition, it is necessity. In A Dance with Dragons, during the epilogue, we see his internal perspective. He is practical. He thinks in terms of order, alliances, and administrative repair. He evaluates the Tyrell alliance rationally. He understands that antagonizing Mace Tyrell weakens the throne. He recognizes that Cersei's hostility has endangered cooperation. He also restores Pycelle's position in a more stable way, signaling continuity rather than chaos. What stands out is tone. Kevan does not fantasize about dominance. He focuses on restoring function. That is a major contrast with Cersei's chapters, where internal justification often replaces realistic assessment. Kevan's regency begins not with spectacle, but with paperwork and appointments. That matters. One of Kevan's first priorities is stabilizing relations with House Tyrell. Under Cersei, the alliance deteriorates. She suspects Margaery. She undermines Mace. She refuses to treat the Tyrells as partners. Kevan reverses this approach. He restores Mace Tyrell's influence on the small council. He acknowledges the importance of Highgarden's armies and food supply. He avoids public humiliation. The Tyrells control grain routes. They provide manpower. Alienating them is strategically reckless. Kevan understands that power sharing is preferable to paranoia. He does not pretend the Tyrells are harmless. But he recognizes that cooperation maintains stability. In practical terms, this strengthens Tommen's reign. The optics improve. The alliance regains surface cohesion. And here is the key point. Kevan's method is not intimidation. It is balance. That alone sets his regency apart from both Tywin's iron-handed dominance and Cersei's defensive aggression. Kevan's reforms extend beyond alliances. He curtails excesses. He reins in unnecessary provocations. He reduces Qyburne's influence. He restores traditional channels of governance. He also attempts to address the financial instability left behind. The Crown cannot immediately erase debt, but it can signal seriousness. Stability in appointments and diplomacy rebuilds confidence. What makes Kevan effective is restraint. He does not escalate conflict with the faith immediately, because he knows confrontation would provoke crisis. He avoids impulsive arrests. He avoids theatrical gestures. Instead, he works to normalize governance. And in the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, this progress is visible. Varys himself acknowledges that Kevan is restoring order. That is the turning point. Kevan is not dramatic, he's not visionary, but he is effective, and that effectiveness becomes dangerous, not to the realm, but to those who benefit from instability. Kevan's regency is competent, that much is clear. But competence does not erase structural damage. The faith militant is still armed. The High Sparrow still commands thousands of zealots inside the capital. That was Cersei's decision, and Kevan cannot simply undo it without risking open conflict. Tommen remains young and impressionable. He's not a strong king in his own right. Authority must be projected around him, not from him. The Tyrell alliance, though stabilised, is conditional. It rests on mutual advantage, not trust. And then there is Cersei herself. She's awaiting trial. She's unpredictable. She remains a political variable. Kevan operates within constraints. He does not have Tywin's absolute authority. He does not command fear in the same way. He relies on cooperation and gradual repair. So while the realm stabilises superficially, underlying tensions remain. Kevan is holding together a system that has already been weakened from multiple directions. That makes his work impressive. It also makes it fragile. The epilogue of A Dance with Dragons reframes everything. Kevan believes he's making progress. He notes that the Tyrell alliance is functioning. The small council is working again. The capital is calmer. Then Varys appears. What follows is one of the most important conversations in the series. Varys tells Kevan plainly that he has been doing too good a job. He says the realm was in chaos under Cersei. That chaos served a purpose. It prepared the ground. Kevan's competence threatens that preparation. Varys explains that for Aegon Targaryen to succeed, Westeros must be disillusioned with its rulers. It must appear weak, corrupt, and unstable. A functioning regency undermines that narrative. Kevan realises too late what that means. He is shot with a crossbow. Pycelle is murdered. Instability is reintroduced deliberately. This is not random assassination. It is strategic destabilisation. Aegon's campaign depends on perception. He arrives as a supposed Targaryen heir backed by the Golden Company. His claim needs contrast. The current regime must look incompetent or illegitimate. Under Cersei, that contrast is easy. Corruption, paranoia, and conflict dominate King's Landing. Under Kevan, it becomes harder. The Tyrells cooperate. Governance resumes. The crown appears functional. Varys understands something simple. If the realm stabilises under Lannister-Tyrell cooperation, Aegon's arrival looks less like salvation and more like disruption. So stability becomes the enemy. Kevan's regency, in other words, is dangerous not because it fails, but because it works. That is why it must be removed. Kevan fits into a pattern we see elsewhere. Jon Arryn held the realm together during Robert's early reign. When he died, instability accelerated. Ned Stark attempted to apply law and honour to a corrupt court. He lacked political flexibility and paid for it. Tywin Lannister restored order after the War of the Five Kings through force and fear. His death created a vacuum. In each case, stabilising figures either die or are undermined. What distinguishes Kevan is subtlety. He's not a visionary. He's not morally transformative. He is practical. And practicality in this world often depends on timing and survival. Kevan's timing is correct. His survival is not. Kevan Lannister's regency is brief. It does not rewrite history. It does not erase the damage done under Cersei. But for a short period, King's Landing functions again. Alliances are repaired. Administration resumes. The crown appears steady. Then Varys intervenes. Not because Kevan is corrupt. Not because he is incompetent. But because he is stabilising the realm at the wrong moment for someone else's plans. So the last serious attempt to steady the Iron Throne ends not with failure of governance, but with assassination. In A Song of Ice and Fire, disorder is sometimes not the result of incompetence. It is the result of someone deciding that order is inconvenient. If you are interested in The Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, click one of the links on the screen to dive deeper into the lore. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.